As always, I'm your host Ryan. Welcome back to Let's Grill Games, the show where we cook good food and talk great games. And today we're returning to where the fight began, Halo Campaign Evolved.
Then it's true. Whoever controls Halo controls the fate of the universe.
Weezy out of here.
We made a blind jump. How did they
get here first? The Covenant ships have always been faster. They were waiting for us on the far side of the planet. And in about 90 seconds, they'll be all over us.
Huh? Well, that's my cue.
Look, I was coming on the wood, my cup filled with mud. I came out the hood. Punch it. They need a hug. I'ma get all my problems above. Hate when people be doing too much. Keep it real, the street show you no love. We don't need no one vouching for us. I've been grinding and found me a buzz. I've been searching for love and found less. It's so hard to start holding a grudge.
25 years ago, Halo Combat Evolved helped redefine what a console shooter could be. Now, Halo Studios has gone back to the beginning, rebuilding Master Chief's original adventure from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5. After playing through the entire campaign, I can confidently say that Halo has never looked better. But looking like Halo and understanding what made Halo special are not necessarily the same thing. Because underneath the incredible graphics, satisfying combat, and one of gaming's greatest stories is a remake that often feels overproduced, strangely altered, and rushed out the door before it was completely ready. So is Halo Combat Evolved the return this franchise desperately needed? Or is it another reminder that recreating Bungie's work is a lot easier than recreating Bungie's magic? Let's begin with the most immediately impressive part of this remake. Halo Campaign Evolved looks graphically fantastic. Unreal Engine 5 brings an incredible amount of detail to these environments, the metallic corridors of the Pillar of Autumn, the massive outdoor landscapes of the Halo Ring, the Covenant architecture, the weapons, the armor, the lighting, the particle effects, all look spectacular. There were moments where I would stop progressing through a mission just to look around, honestly. And Halo has never looked this technically impressive. The developers clearly understood how important scale is to Halo. When you first step onto the ring, you see the landscape stretching out in front of you. It still creates that feeling of wonder that the original delivered all the way back in 2001. Except now it's presented with modern lighting, dense environments, and a level of visual detail that the original Xbox could never have produced. There will naturally be debates over whether this new presentation captures the exact atmosphere of the original game. See the remake from 10 years ago. Some environments are brighter and busier and far more detailed than they used to be, of course. And the additional detail can occasionally work against the clean visual identity that made the original so memorable. But taken strictly as a technical showcase, Campaign Evolved is extremely impressive. It's the best that Halo has ever looked. Thankfully, the improvements are not limited to only the graphics though. The gameplay feels really good. More importantly, it genuinely feels like Halo in the hand. I tried this on both mouse and keyboard, and the movement, weapons, enemy encounters, combat rhythm, they all preserve the fundamental Halo experience. You're constantly moving between weapons, scavenging ammunition, throwing grenades, breaking shields, and adapting to whatever the sandbox is trying to throw at you. The Covenant still react dynamically during combat. Elites dodge, reposition, and pressure the player. Grunts panic when their leader goes down. Jackals force you to approach encounters differently instead of simply holding down the trigger and running forward. Those individual systems combine to create the kind of unpredictable combat encounters that have always separated Halo from more scripted shooters. It feels familiar without feeling completely outdated. The balance is probably Campaign Evolved's greatest accomplishment, quite honestly. The developers modernized the presentation and controls without completely replacing the slower, more deliberate combat that defined the original. There are additions from later Halo games, along with redesigned spaces and expanded encounters, but the foundation remains recognizably Halo. And when everything is working correctly, it's quite simply a lot of fun. The story also remains compelling, but we need to be honest about where the credit belongs when it comes to that. Halo Combat Evolved already had an excellent story. The mystery surrounding the ring, the escalating Covenant conflict, the introduction of the Flood, and the eventual discovery of Halo's true purpose still creates one of the most memorable campaigns in gaming, and I think it's something you'll really enjoy if you're actually new to this. Campaign Evolved benefits from having an incredible foundation. That's a credit to the original writers and the developers at Bungie. The remake does introduce new dialogue and expand certain conversations, and none of those additions completely destroy the story. Most of them are not necessarily bad, honestly. They just rarely feel necessary. The original game was remarkably efficient with its dialogue. Characters communicated what the player needed to know, while leaving enough unanswered to maintain the mystery surrounding the ring. Some of the new lines feel like they're explaining moments that didn't require further explanation necessary, or they're expanding dialogue that didn't need to be expanded or changed. Other exchanges slightly alter the rhythm of familiar scenes without adding anything more meaningful to them than was already there. The re-recorded performances can also be a bit jarring. Even when the actors are delivering essentially the same information, the cadence, emphasis, and audio quality sound noticeably different from the performances that many players have heard over the past 25 years.
Report!
It must have been one of their boarding parties. I'd guess an antimatter charge.
Ma'am! Fire control for the main cannon is offline!
Captain, the cannon was my last offensive option.
All right then. I'm initiating Cold Protocol Article 2. We're abandoning the Autumn. That means you too, Cortana.
While you do what? Go down with the ship?
Report!
It must be one of their boarding parties. I'd guess an antimatter charge.
Ma'am! Fire control for the main cannon is offline!
Captain, the cannon was my last offensive option.
All right then. I'm initiating Cold Protocol Article 2. We're abandoning the Autumn. That means you too, Cortana.
While you do what? Go down with the ship?
That does not automatically make the new performances bad, but it does make them feel different. And when you're remaking something as familiar as Halo Combat Evolved, even small differences become extremely noticeable. There were several moments when I was not thinking about what a character was saying because I was too distracted by how different the line sounded. To be clear, the new dialogue does not ruin the story. It just reinforces one of my larger problems with this remake and Halo Studios in general. Campaign Evolved in Halo Studios frequently adds things simply because it has the ability to add them, not because the original game actually needed them.
Don't keep it loaded, son. You'll have to find ammo as you go.
If all goes well, we'll rendezvous on the object's surface.
Yeah, I don't really know what you mean by that.
And if it doesn't, make sure my daughter gets this.
Awesome. I don't like being handed
That's
things.
fine. But I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't know what that means, so I'm just going to nod and say yes.
Unfortunately, the game's biggest problems are not subjective. Campaign Evolved is not stable. During my playthrough, I experienced several crashes, whether it was a full PC lockup or it was simply a game crashing me back to the desktop. And honestly, this wasn't just one isolated crash, it was several, and it was several more than I cared to count. I also encountered an extremely strange graphics issue that only appeared after playing for an extended period of time. Objects and environmental assets would gradually begin flickering. The longer the game remained open, the worse it became. Restarting the game would temporarily fix the problems that I was having, but it would eventually return during another long session that I had. I can't definitively diagnose the cause from my desk, but the way that the issue progressively appears after extended play sessions certainly feels consistent with poor memory management or some form of memory leak over time. And considering that I'm testing this on a powerful computer, this is not a case where the game was simply struggling to meet its minimum requirements. Now, to be clear, in social media, Halo support has already acknowledged a substantial collection of technical problems, including several hardware and driver combinations capable of causing crashes and severe graphical issues. That is simply not acceptable for a $70 release. A remake should theoretically provide a more polished and reliable version of the original experience, you would think. Instead, I spent portions of the campaign wondering whether the next loading screen, cutscene, or extended session would result in another crash. That begs the question of, was it rushed? The technical condition of the game inevitably raises the question about its development timeline. There have been widespread speculation that Campaign Evolved might originally target November 2026, aligning closely with the 25th anniversary of Halo Combat Evolved on November 15th. Grand Theft Auto 6 is currently scheduled for November 19th, creating a release window that almost every major publisher would understandably want to avoid. Commentators had speculated that Xbox might move Halo earlier rather than place it directly beside the largest release of the year. However, Microsoft never officially confirmed that Campaign Evolved previously had a November release date. So while I don't want to present that theory as fact, I think we can all kind of guesstimate what was happening. But whether Grand Theft Auto 6 directly influenced the schedule or not, Campaign Evolved feels like a game that needed more development time. The crashes, graphical problems, inconsistent cinematics, and unnecessary changes create the impression of a massive production that was pushed across the finish line before every individual piece had been properly polished. And massive really is the correct word here. I mean, let's just look at the credits. These credits for this remake are unbelievably long. I tried watching the entire thing the first time I beat the game. I literally fell asleep in my chair. I woke up, checked the screen, and I'm pretty sure they were still crediting people when I woke up. Obviously, hundreds of talented developers deserve recognition for their work. There's no doubt there. That part is not the criticism. The enormous credits simply illustrate how many studios, departments, contractors, and separate production pipelines were required to rebuild a game that was originally created by a much smaller team. So to be clear, Campaign Evolved does not feel underdeveloped. It feels overdeveloped. There are more people, more technology, more dialogue, more visual detail, and more content. But more does not automatically create something more meaningful. But that's enough for the game right now. Let's see if today's cook turned out any better. And today, since we're playing a classic, it only feels right that we grill a classic today. We're doing fillets.
Weezy out of here. Weezy out of here.
Who think you fooling? We not new to it. We counted fluid. House came on the wood, my cup filled with mud. I came out the hood. Sometimes the gangster need a hug. I'ma get all my problems up.
The steaks are doing just fine. Let's talk about the game. And that brings me to the most difficult part of this review. Something feels missing. When you watch old footage of Bungie developing the original Halo games, you see developers experimenting, solving problems, and occasionally creating sound effects themselves using whatever objects they could find.
I'm gonna make a recording of the hydraulic door here on my car. I have a Subaru hatchback, and I recorded my hatch opening to get some kind of a sound that kind of goes up in pitch, and then you can manipulate it to sound big. I've used that as part of like a door opening. I believe it's in waste at the moment. This is our trusty audio editor. Right, if I want it to be bigger, I can drop it down an octave or something.
When we went to go make sound for the Mongoose, I recorded a two-stroke Vespa that I own that has an aftermarket muffler on it, which just makes it obscenely obnoxious. Then we recorded Eric Arroyo's Fiero 6-inch fat pipes on the back, 2 of them dual exhaust. As I jump in it, you can hear the growl of the two-stroke. Then you got this really growly, 4-stroke, huge sounding exhaust. And now it's the mixture of both of them.
There's a scrappy, obsessive energy behind that footage. It feels like a group of people attempting to create something they personally believed in, something that they personally believed needed to exist, even when they had not completely figured out how to even build it yet. Campaign Evolved is clearly the product of an enormous amount of work, no doubt about that. I'm not claiming that the individual artists, programmers, designers, or performers at Halo Studios do not care about Halo. I'm sure many of them care deeply about the franchise. They wouldn't be working there if they didn't. But that same passion does not consistently come through in the finished product. Campaign Evolved feels more like a massive corporate production attempting to carefully reconstruct the appearance of Halo rather than a creative team fighting to discover what Halo could become. It understands the weapons, it understands the enemies, it understands the environments, and even the music and the visual iconography. But I'm not convinced that it completely understands the restraint, the confidence, and creative personality that made the original game timeless. Bungie created Halo because it was exploring something new. Halo Studios is attempting to recreate the results, and those are two fundamentally different creative challenges. Despite everything I've criticized, I think some of the reactions to Campaign Evolved have been unnecessarily harsh. This is not a terrible game. It's definitely not the death of Halo, and it's certainly not the disaster that some people are presenting it as online. Campaign Evolved is a good remake of an incredible game. The graphics are outstanding, the combat feels satisfying, the environments are impressive, and underneath it all, the campaign and story remains compelling, and most importantly, it's fun. For new players, this is an accessible way to experience the beginning of Master Chief's story with modern graphics and controls. And then for longtime fans, it provides a visually spectacular return to one of gaming's most recognizable worlds. But it is also unstable, overproduced, and filled with changes that range from unnecessary to occasionally distracting. At $70, I can't completely recommend it in its current condition. The technical problems are too significant, especially when the crashes can interrupt a campaign that originally ran on hardware released 25 years ago. If you already have access through Game Pass, it's absolutely worth it in that case. If you're purchasing it separately, I would wait for a couple updates or a more meaningful discount. Look, overall, it's a fun and visually stunning and mostly faithful return to the ring. It just needed more time in the oven, is my opinion. Or, considering what we do around here, maybe it needed to stay a little longer on the smoker. Guys, the support on this page has been exploding, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this game getting added to the Halo universe. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. I'm Ryan, this is Let's Go Games. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.